Chapter 491 Finally Unbearable. Chapter 491 Finally Unbearable. Boom. The 18-foot-tall golden sword soul phantom was like a matchless fiend beneath the heavens. As Jianghu Shuang began marching forward, this golden sword soul phantom also suddenly stepped forward and swung its long sword. Power instantly erupted from the sword soul and fought with Marquis Zizhong head-on. Then, the boundless blood river gushed out toward Marquis Zizhong to restrain him. Previously, Jianghu Shuang almost had to use his full strength to seriously injure Marquis Nanyu while he was using a normal sword, but the battle strength of Marquis Zizhong was obviously superior to that of Marquis Nanyu. With the power of the Dao weapon in hand, Marquis Zizhong and Jianghu Shuang were evenly matched in one-on-one close combat, both in speed and skill. But now Marquis Zizhong could only grapple with Jianghu Shuang. As for what he said earlier about slaying Jianghu Shuang, it was obviously impossible. In this regard, Marquis Zizhong was helplessly reaching his limit. His Excellency Su Ming wanted me to slay Jianghu Shuang and bring back the heart-killing sword, but who would have thought that this boy was only in the Saint Realm? How is his battle strength this incredible? Marquis Zizhong thought from the bottom of his heart. Before Jianghu Shuang and Marquis Nanyu's one-on-one fight, Marquis Zizhong also thought he knew what the outcome would be, but after seeing Jianghu Shuang's swordsmanship severely injure Marquis Nanyu, he knew that he would not be able to kill Jianghu Shuang alone. We can only wait for His Excellency Su Ming to handle this. Marquis Zizhong seemed to have intentionally or unintentionally been searching the surrounding area. He knew that His Excellency Su Ming must be hiding somewhere close, but he just hadn't appeared. It was because of this that he knew he couldn't kill Jianghu Shuang. Yet he was fighting like crazy with Jianghu Shuang trying to kill him. He just wanted Su Ming to see that he had tried his best, and that the opponent was too strong for him to kill. On the battlefield, the fierce battle between Jianghu Shuang and Marquis Zizhong had reached the white-hot stage. The two men were colliding head-on and turning into residual shadows from time to time, then chasing and dodging each other at an alarming speed within the battlefield. But no matter how hard they fought, it was difficult to tell who would win or lose. Marquis Zizhong is worthy of the title Marquis. I'm afraid that even 10 Marquis Nanyus combined couldn't be compared to him, thought Jianghu Shuang. Jianghu Shuang, who was in the middle of the fight, suddenly looked at Marquis Zizhong and said, "Your strength demands that I use the heart-killing sword." Jianghu Shuang's voice instantly lowered and his wrist moved. The triple-kill sword disappeared, replaced by a wicked long sword that exuded an unusually bloodthirsty sensation. This is the first time I have used this sword. I wonder how powerful it is? Jianghu Shuang thought and then smirked. However, this smirk caused the facial expression of Marquis Zizhong to change greatly. Damn it. When Marquis Zizhong saw the wicked long sword in Jianghu Shuang's hand, his pupils suddenly contracted. The heart-killing sword was the #1 killing sword in the vast divine land. Marquis Zizhong didn't know how powerful it was. He only knew that Jianghu Shuang fought to a draw with him while using the triple-kill sword, which was merely a first-grade magic weapon. Now if he used the heart-killing sword. After all, the heart-killing sword is the best weapon for someone who practices sword principle. With Jianghu Shuang's strength, he only needs to show a little bit of its power and he will be able to completely suppress me, Marquis Zizhong thought fearfully. When he saw Jianghu Shuang preparing to use the heart-killing sword, a sense of unrest began to grow in Marquis Zizhong's heart. However, even though he wanted to leave, he was already being suppressed by Jianghu Shuang's Blood River realm, which prevented him from leaving without Jianghu Shuang's permission. Jianghu Shuang's residual shadow gradually disappeared from where he had just been, and a vibrating ghost-like figure instantly moved through the Blood River, appearing in front of Marquis Zizhong. A sword slash immediately swept out, accompanied by a slicing sound. This sword, carrying a decisive and unwavering intent, was the second move of the heart-killing sword technique, Desperation. As if acknowledging Jianghu Shuang as its master, the heart-killing sword shook crazily at that moment and exploded with power that soared to the heavens. Jianghu Shuang's attack seemed to have reached the pinnacle of terror. Perhaps another person could display similar swordsmanship, but Jianghu Shuang had performed a secret technique of the heart-killing sword, Desperation. If it was compared to the power released when he used the triple-kill sword, this time the technique was several times more powerful. I can't stop this sword strike. Seeing this attack in action, and feeling the immense power it emanated, Marquis Zizhong wore a terrified look on his face. However, the sword did not land on Marquis Zizhong's body. Instead, it struck the space in front of him. The empty space was torn apart, and a white-robed human figure immediately emerged from it. As soon as the white-robed man appeared, he countered with a strong sword essence. This sword essence, with just its first counterattack, pushed almost everything back towards Jian Wushuang, causing Jian Wushuang to become unsettled and the sword in his hand to become still. After regaining his stance and composure, Jian Wushuang squinted to get a better look at this newcomer. The large number of sword principle experts in the area, who were watching the fight, all focused their attention on the white-robed man who suddenly appeared. Has he really come? They wondered. None of the sword principle experts were surprised by the unexpected appearance of the white-robed man. Everyone knew that he would never give up on the heart-killing sword so easily. Jian Wushuang also gazed at the newcomer. The corners of the white-robed man's mouth were smeared with a peculiar curve-like paint. "It's finally unbearable," spoke the white-robed man. The white-robed man, with a handsome demon-like face, was one of the 9 sovereigns in the vast divine land and also the owner of Sword Suppression Valley. Sword Demon Su Ming. Su Ming had suppressed the heart-killing sword in Sword Suppression Valley for thousands of years. He already regarded the heart-killing sword as his own. At the Sword Principle meeting in Sword Suppression Valley, the heart-killing sword had been acknowledged as one of the most powerful weapons. Would Su Ming willingly let it go? While they were inside the Sword Suppression Valley, Su Ming was afraid of losing his prestige and reputation since it was inappropriate for him to handle this matter in the presence of guests. Even outside of the Sword Suppression Valley, Su Ming allowed Marquis Zizhong to try settling matters first while he stayed in the dark. He still could not come forward, so he naturally did not come forward. But when he realized Marquis Zizhong also could not deal with Jian Wushuang, he had no alternative but to do it himself. "His Excellency Su Ming," said Marquis Zizhong while bowing respectfully, "I have tried my best." Marquis Zizhong finished what he wanted to say. "I noticed," Su Ming answered, then he nodded and gestured a dismissive wave towards Marquis Zizhong. It was appropriate for Marquis Zizhong to step aside. He knew that the arrival of Su Ming meant he was no longer needed. Su Ming still possessed his arrogant posture while looking at Jian Wushuang, who stood directly in front of him. When he saw the heart-killing sword in Jian Wushuang's hand, his pupils secretly narrowed in on it. He immediately revealed a cold smile. "The sword is good, but the one who is using it is too weak," remarked Su Ming. "Haha. Your Excellency Su Ming is right. I am weak. I cannot even use 10% of the heart-killing sword's power. However, it doesn't matter how much of its power I can use, because I'm still better off than the people who don't even have enough ability to be recognized by the heart-killing sword. All they can do is look on in despair, right?" Jian Wushuang responded while smiling. Chapter 492, Illusory Sword Principle. Chapter 492, Illusory Sword Principle. Those who were not qualified can only look on in despair. Upon hearing this, numerous sword principle experts suddenly had an odd look on their faces. Obviously, Jian Wushuang was mocking Su Ming. After all, Su Ming had possessed the heart-killing sword for thousands of years, but he had not been able to bind it. "How bold," Su Ming said as a silver of coldness flashed through his beautiful face. He stared at Jian Wushuang. "It's been a long time since someone dared talk to me like this. Since you've said so much, you won't be able to leave here. Even if I had not said those words, you would not let me go, right?" Jian Wushuang wore a cold smile. "Su Ming, you don't have to pretend to be noble. If you want the heart-killing sword, make your move." "Since you are courting death, I will make your dream come true," Su Ming said. Then a sword appeared in his hands. It was a dream-like sword with an almost transparent body. Su Ming held the sword while radiating an overwhelming sword essence. Jian Wushuang looked grim. Sword Demon Su Ming was different from Marquis Nanyu and Marquis Zizhong. Though he was at the 8-cloud realm, he had reached the Tao. The Tao was the supreme level, superior to the origin. If an expert reached the Tao, his strength would experience a dramatic change. "Boy, are you ready to die?" Su Ming stared at Jian Wushuang as if he was looking at a dead person. "Come on." Jian Wushuang gripped the heart-killing sword tightly while the 180-foot golden sword Soul Phantom emanated a mighty aura. Su Ming sneered, then he casually swung his dreamlike long sword. It seemed like a casual and slow movement. However, the moment he attacked, a colorful, dreamlike sword light appeared in the sky. The streak of sword light was charming. Jian Wushuang was shocked. In that instant he saw a different scene. "Schwanger, Schwanger, help, help." Jian Wushuang heard a terrified voice and looked over. He saw his father, who had been indifferent earlier, fleeing in panic while being chased by a grinning Marquis Xiefeng who was brandishing his saber. "Dad!" Jian Wushuang panicked. "No!" Jian Nantian uttered a forlorn scream. Jian Wushuang saw his father's body being split in two by Marquis Xiefeng. He was shocked, but he immediately realized that it was not real. "Illusion, it's an illusion. Wake up. Be quick." Jian Wushuang snarled in his heart. He suddenly gritted his teeth and tried his best to disentangle himself from the illusion. When he regained consciousness, he noticed that the heart-stopping attack was less than 1 meter away from him. He had no chance of parrying it, so he could only try to dodge. Su Ming had originally aimed his attack at the young man's head, but Jian Wushuang moved, so the sword light passed by next to his ear and landed on his right shoulder. Whoosh! A huge sword wound appeared on his shoulder and blood began flowing out of it. Luckily, Jian Wushuang had a powerful body, otherwise his right arm would have been chopped off. While ignoring the sharp pain in his arm, Jian Wushuang quickly retreated. Su Ming still stood in the air, slowly sheathing his long sword. "You were able to escape from my illusory sword principle. Very impressive." Su Ming sneered while looking at the young man. Jian Wushuang was terrified. He did not expect Su Ming to possess a swordsmanship which contained a terrifying illusion. Illusory sword principle? Jian Wushuang could not help nodding in private. The Tao was worthy of being the supreme level, superior to the origin. It was terrifying indeed. If he had not reacted to the attack in time, his head would have been split in half. "My illusory sword principle is marvelous. Few marquises could parry it. You should be proud of yourself since you did not die from that attack," Su Ming said. Jian Wushuang looked grim and began activating the soul-devouring secret skill in his mind. Soul-devouring secret skill. Jian Wushuang had not used soul-devouring secret skill ever since he arrived at the Divine Land. It placed a heavy burden on his body. So, unless it was a critical moment, Jian Wushuang was unwilling to use it. He had not experienced a truly desperate fight in the Divine Land yet. But now he had to rely on it to save himself. Jian Wushuang instantly radiated a terrifying power which seemed like it could devour everything. He was activating the second volume of the soul-devouring secret skill, the highest level. In an instant, the whole area began to shake. Jian Wushuang's body seemed to be a black hole that could devour everything as a stream of natural power from everything in the area began rushing into his body at an amazing speed. The ground below became dry and cracked. In the blink of an eye, the land within a radius of dozens of meters had become lifeless. The spectators were panic-stricken. What a frightening skill. What happened? He is actually devouring natural power? The spectators exclaimed in amazement. Just a small trick. Su Ming sneered. Eventually, Jian Wushuang stopped devouring the energy, but his aura had already improved to a new level. Of course, it also placed a heavy burden on him. Jian Wushuang pointed towards the space ahead of him with his blood-red eyes. Azura secret skill, Bridge of Helplessness. A terrifying power erupted and a huge blood bridge appeared above the blood river, slowly stretching toward the end of the river. Jian Wushuang, who was covered by a scarlet armor, stepped onto the bridge. Jian Wushuang's aura soared once again. He glanced at Su Ming. Then, in the next moment, he moved. Chapter 493 Counterattack. Chapter 493, Counterattack. Whoosh! A streak of flowing light darted out. Now, a mighty blood river was surging towards Su Ming. Jian Wushuang appeared in front of his opponent and the heart-killing sword let out a shrill whistle as the 180-foot golden sword Soul Phantom attacked with a long sword. It was a brilliant, intoxicating stroke. The spectators could not help but be enchanted by it. It was the third move of the heart-killing sword technique, Enchant. Jian Wushuang had just recently comprehended it when he saw the Thousand-Sword Salute. The first move of the heart-killing sword technique was relatively weak, but each move was stronger than the previous one. Therefore, the third move was obviously more powerful than the second one, Desperation. Even a marquis would be terrified by the power of this brilliant attack. But Su Ming sneered while casually brandishing his dreamlike long sword again. As a result, Jian Wushuang's strongest move was easily deflected by him. He blocked my attack so easily? Jian Wushuang was astonished. He used his full strength to perform soul-devouring secret skill and used the heart-killing sword to perform his strongest move, which was powerful enough to kill any marquis, but Su Ming easily parried it. Both sovereigns and marquises were at the Cloud Realm, but was the former really that much stronger than the latter? Humph. Jian Wushuang snorted. He immediately struck out with several palms in succession. Azura secret skill 18 levels of hell. A mighty power erupted as a towering scarlet pavilion descended into the mighty blood river. It had 18 floors with ghost shadows visible on each floor, as its overwhelming power began surging toward Su Ming. At this moment, a sword light also gushed out of Jian Wushuang's mind's eye. Instantly, a terrifying sword essence shot out. It was the first-grade sword technique, Mind's Eye. Ever since he first learned this sword skill, he had been storing sword essence between his eyes, but he rarely had an opportunity to use it, so the sword essence became more and more powerful. At this moment he released all of the sword essence he had been saving at once. The stream of sword essence changed into a streak of dazzling sword light, lashing out with a power strong enough to kill a marquis. Su Ming stood there peacefully. Even though the lofty scarlet pavilion suppressed him, he was only shocked for a second and still kept his calm. In the blink of an eye, the overwhelming sword essence had appeared before Su Ming. Su Ming snorted. When he raised his head, his mind's eye suddenly split and unleashed a gush of sword essence, which was more powerful than what Jian Wushuang released. He easily blocked the attack from the mind's eye sword technique. After seeing that, Jian Wushuang stared at his opponent with an extremely cold look and said, "Time for my last killing move." Su Ming frowned and felt something happen behind him. At the same time as he smashed the sword essence, a streak of golden light with an overwhelming power rushed toward his back at a terrifying speed. A scarlet figure with a cold look stood behind him while holding a gold longbow, the Dragon King Bao. The golden light, which was not far from Su Ming, was actually the Dragon King arrow with icy heart poison. The Blood Puppet and Dragon King arrow were Jian Wushuang's final killing move. Jian Wushuang had performed some powerful techniques, but he did not actually expect those skills to kill Su Ming. His only hope was the Dragon King arrow, or more precisely the icy heart poison that was on it. As long as the Dragon King arrow scratched Su Ming's skin, the icy heart poison should be strong enough to kill him. Therefore Jian Wushuang let Blood Puppet wait at the side for an opportunity to launch this killing move. Jian Wushuang had an ingenious plan. He exerted his full strength to perform techniques that would attract his opponent's attention, especially the 18 levels of hell which shocked Su Ming. Then the Mind's Eye sword technique and Dragon King arrow were displayed in succession so that Su Ming would not notice the second attack. When the golden light was 1 meter away from him, he finally felt it. At such a close distance, Su Ming was utterly unable to react. I succeeded. A flicker of delight flashed through his eyes. He watched as the Dragon King arrow pierced Su Ming. However, no blood appeared. The Dragon King arrow did not seem to touch anything and continued shooting forward at its previous speed. Swish! The gold light, like a comet with a long tail, eventually landed on a nearby mountain. The Dragon King arrow left a big hole on the mountainside. As the icy heart poison pervaded the mountain, the huge mountain became white and was quickly covered by an icy fog. Clap! At this point, the mountain cracked into pieces. It chilled all the spectators to the bone. Tut, what a terrifying toxin. Luckily, I have the illusory sword principle, or I would have been wounded and killed by your toxin. Cold laughter rang out. Jian Wushuang saw Su Ming speak again with a completely uninjured body. Chapter 494, Blind Emperor. Chapter 494, Blind Emperor. How is that possible? The Dragon King arrow obviously pierced his body. Jian Wushuang turned pale. He thought his killing move worked. Normally, Su Ming should not have been able to dodge it, but Su Ming had actually succeeded in escaping. It must be because of his illusory sword principle, Jian Wushuang thought to himself. The Tao was mysterious, so it was normal that Su Ming had some remarkable abilities. Boy, you're just a Saint Realm expert, but your skills are amazing. What a pity. It's meaningless in front of real strength. Su Ming wore a faint smile while his dreamlike longsword became dazzling. Go to hell, Su Ming said. He lifted his dreamlike longsword up and was about to attack again. Jian Wushuang was frightened at this moment. He had experienced illusory sword principle. The illusion was so real that he did not have the confidence to deal with it. A flow of immaterial sword essence suddenly rose nearby. It looked somewhat bleak and sad, but it aroused Su Ming's attention. This sovereign stopped and looked over toward the source of the sword essence. An old figure slowly walked over. He was a scruffy elder with white hair and black skin. On his skinny face there were many black freckles. He opened his eyes, but his pupils were white. Obviously he was blind. All the sword principle experts could not help but look at him. Jian Nantian was fighting fiercely with Marquis Xiefeng, and it was hard to tell who would be the winner. However, when the scruffy elder appeared, Jian Nantian smiled faintly. He finally came. The blind, scruffy elder was the person Jian Nantian had asked for help. The scruffy elder took stout steps and stopped by Jian Wushuang's side. Su Ming, who had been arrogant, looked at the scruffy elder with a cold look. "Blind man, you are still alive," Su Ming said coldly. "You, a traitor, are still alive. Why should I die so easily?" The scruffy elder said indifferently. "Traitor?" Jian Wushuang was intrigued by this information. Judging from the way the elder spoke, Jian Wushuang knew he also belonged to the bloodline of the sword ancestor. "This?" Marquis Zizhong curiously stared at the scruffy elder. Then his expression changed as he became shocked and terrified. "Blind Emperor, it's you!" Marquis Zizhong cried in an unbelievable tone. His voice reverberated through the whole area. Numerous sword principle experts heard those two words. Exclamations rang out in succession. "Blind Emperor? Which one?" "He is Blind Emperor, one of the 7 sword emperors from the bloodline of the sword ancestor." "Right, that's him. Except for him, who else would dare to call himself Blind Emperor in the divine land?" "He didn't die." Numerous sword principle experts were shocked. Many of them were knowledgeable, so they knew that the bloodline of the sword ancestor was the overlord of the divine land thousands of years ago, and that apart from sword ancestor the 7 sword emperors were the strongest. Each one of the sword emperors was a supreme expert. It was said that the top 3 had reached the Tao and had the battle strength of a sovereign. For thousands of years, sword ancestor and the 7 sword emperor were the backbones of the sword ancestor's bloodline. No force could stand up to them. Even the 3 ancestors could not fight against the bloodline of the sword ancestor. Blind Emperor was one of the 7. No one in the area had expected that Blind Emperor was still alive. Thousands of years ago, the bloodline of the sword ancestor suffered some dramatic changes. Sword ancestor died and his bloodline collapsed. Numerous experts and disciples were killed and only a few escaped to the Nanyang continent. It was said that the 7 sword emperors were killed. Now, Blind Emperor had reappeared in front of everyone. "Blind man, you actually survived that fight thousands of years ago. You're quite lucky." Su Ming stared at Blind Emperor and sneered. "Now you want to save this boy? Since I'm here, I won't let you be so unbridled," Blind Emperor said in a low voice. "Only you? How could you block me?" Su Ming smiled with scorn. "Have a try. You'll understand." Blind Emperor snorted and a sword appeared in his hand. "That is?" Jian Wushuang was shocked. The sword was similar to his triple-kill sword in form, size and color, but this sword was more powerful. It had reached the Tao weapon level. Blind Emperor swung the long sword and stabbed forward. Shua. The spectators who comprehended sword principle were dumbfounded because they saw Blind Emperor stab at nothing. Blind Emperor has not only lost his sight, but also his senses as well? Many experts thought. They did not understand why Blind Emperor launched such an attack, but they were shocked by what happened next. A figure suddenly appeared in the empty space where Blind Emperor stabbed. It was Su Ming. What? The spectators were stunned. They did not know what on earth had happened. Only Jian Wushuang realized the reason. "No wonder I missed him with my Dragon King arrow. I actually fell into his illusion from the beginning." He let his phantom appear in one spot while his real body stayed in another. Jian Wushuang thought in private. Chapter 495, Cause of Death. Chapter 495, Cause of Death. The Dragon King arrow had only pierced the phantom Su Ming created, so it did not hurt him. The combination of swordsmanship and illusion formed the illusory sword principle that Su Ming comprehended. Blind Emperor saw through it, so he knew where the real Su Ming was hiding. Su Ming turned pale. He barely deflected the attack and immediately drew back. After regaining his balance, Su Ming looked at Blind Emperor with a flicker of coldness in his eyes. "Blind man, it's been a long time since we last met. Your strength has improved greatly. I knew that you had been studying Heart Sword Principle. It seems that you have finally achieved something. I'm blind, but my heart is not. Your illusion is useless against me. As long as I'm here, You won't be able to hurt this boy, Blind Emperor said indifferently. Su Ming's face fell. His illusory sword principle did not work against those who possessed a strong mind. The heart sword principle focused on one's heart and could counteract the effect from the illusory sword principle. Therefore, Su Ming could not find an opportunity to kill the boy. Blind man, you really think you can stop me? Su Ming coldly looked at Blind Emperor. Nonsense, Blind Emperor said in a low tone. Well? Su Ming wore cold expressions as his eyes blazed with fury, but he remained silent for a while. As his lips tilted upwards slightly at the corners, he gave a wicked smile and said, Blind man, you think that because you're here I can't kill this boy. Blind Emperor had an indifferent expression. Ha 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 ha. Su Ming broke into demented laughter. After a while, he calmed down and looked at his opponents with a cold expression. I didn't want to, but you forced me to do it. Hearing this, Jianghu had a bad feeling. Su Ming, what are you going to do? Blind Emperor spoke in a cold voice. What shall I do? Haha. Su Ming said with a big laugh. Old man, thousands of years ago, Sword Ancestor died and his bloodline collapsed. You, one of the 7 Sword Emperors, narrowly escaped, but you still don't know the cause of that fight, right? Blind Emperor was shocked. He began shivering. Thousands of years ago, the fight started suddenly and ended quickly. The bloodline of the Sword Ancestor was so powerful that no one dared to piss them off. Even the other 3 ancestors held them in awe. However, a fight erupted, causing Sword Ancestor to die and his bloodline to collapse within a day. Other than Blind Emperor, the other 6 Sword Emperors had all been killed. It had been an absolute nightmare for Blind Emperor. Thousands of years had passed, but Blind Emperor still knew nothing about the cause of the fight. He was not clear on why it started and why Sword Ancestor died. He had not found the answer even now. Su Ming, what do you mean? Blind Emperor said in a tremulous tone. Su Ming said with a grim smile, casting his gaze on Jianghu. Jianghu, if I guessed right, you're a descendant from the bloodline of the Sword Ancestor, right? When you came to Sword Suppression Valley, I knew because you had the triple kill sword. The triple kill sword is a token of the bloodline of the Sword Ancestor. It was modeled after the heart-killing sword. The bloodline of the Sword Ancestor refined 5 triple kill swords and gave them to 5 personal disciples. I'm one of the 5, so I also have one. Then Su Ming turned his hand over and a long sword appeared. This sword was the same as Jianghu triple kill sword and Blind Emperor's long sword. You not only have the triple kill sword, but you have also mastered many sword skills from the bloodline of the Sword Ancestor, such as Mind's Eye sword technique and Multifold Realm, which was famous because of the bloodline of the Sword Ancestor. In addition, you know how to perform the heart-killing sword technique. Su Ming sneered. As Sword Ancestor's personal disciple, Su Ming remembered all 9 moves of the heart-killing sword technique, so he knew it well. He recognized it when Jianghu performed heart-killing sword technique. I'm the descendant of bloodline of the Sword Ancestor. So what? Jianghu said in a cold voice. Since Su Ming knew it, Jianghu admitted his identity openly. Su Ming sneered. It doesn't matter that you're the descendant of bloodline of the Sword Ancestor, but you've mastered the heart-killing sword technique. That's different. Both of us have grasped the heart-killing sword technique, so you must know how marvelous the sword skill is. We can keep this skill in mind and freely perform it, but we can't teach it to others. Sword Ancestor's personal disciples, who mastered the heart-killing sword technique, can't teach it to anyone. You mastered this skill after the bloodline of the Sword Ancestor collapsed. There's only one possibility. You found the location of the cave mansion Sword Ancestor left and you've been there. Upon hearing this, Jianghu expression changed slightly and his grim sense of foreboding continued to increase. Su Ming continued, Hey blind man, don't you want to know how the old guy died? I'll tell you now. He died because he had something related to a big secret. This secret is so big that all the other experts who were as strong as him would pay any price to acquire it. Sometimes, just possessing a treasure is enough to cause trouble for its owner. Because of that thing he died. However, the old guy was clever and hid it in his cave mansion. As we all know, the mansion's location remains a mystery. The experts who killed the old guy searched the whole Divine Land, but they could not find the cave mansion. But now, if they receive the news that Jianghu knows its location and has practiced the heart-killing sword technique in there, say what would they do? On hearing this, Jianghu and Blind Emperor's faces fell. Chapter 496, Crazy Messaging. Chapter 496, Crazy Messaging. Haha, Sword Ancestor's Cave Mansion. Su Ming crazily laughed without scruple. Jian Wushuang was frightened. In the Ancestor's land, he asked Jin Ling about the third test, but Jin Ling just said that she only knew it was related to a big secret. Now he realized that the big secret was the cause of Sword Ancestor's death. What does he want to do? Jian Nantian appeared beside his son. Jian Nantian remained deadlocked with Marquis Xiefeng, but when he noticed something happening here, Jian Nantian came over. I don't know, but it can't be anything good, Blind Emperor replied coldly. Su Ming stopped laughing. His expression became ferocious with a gush of craziness in his eyes. Jian Wushuang, Blind Emperor, and Jian Nantian. Su Ming looked at them. Have you experienced desperation? Jian Wushuang's complexion changed slightly. Jian Nantian was shocked. Desperation. Hey, it's all right if you haven't because you will be experiencing it soon. Like Sword Ancestor, you will know what real desperation is. I will give you a taste of being targeted by the whole world, Su Ming said with a grim smile as he flipped his hand over. A dozen messaging slips appeared in his hands. After he tore one of them, a blurry image appeared. Haha, Holy Ancestor, you have been looking for the location of the Sword Ancestor Cave Mansion, right? I found it. The blurry figure showed a surprised expression and spoke in a sonorous voice. I'll come immediately. The blurry figure disappeared. Then Su Ming tore the second messaging slip. Spirit Ancestor, I have some information about the Sword Ancestor Cave Mansion. Whether you come is up to you. The message was sent. Then he turned to the third messaging slip. Stone Ancestor, I received news on the Sword Ancestor Cave Mansion. Blood Bladesman, I know the whereabouts of that thing you want. Bagu Cave Master, you're still in closed-door cultivation? If you don't exit, the thing you want will fall into someone else's hands. Dong Ming King. Su Ming tore the messaging slips and sent all the messages. The first 3 messages were to the 3 ancestors in the Divine Land. As for the other messages, such as Blood Bladesman, Bagu Cave Master, and Dong Ming King, many sword principal experts present, including Blind Emperor, had not heard of them. We're in big trouble. Jian Wushuang and Jian Nantian both looked at each other with a horrible expression. They knew that they would become the experts' targets if Sword Ancestor's death was really related to that thing. Not good, Jian Nantian, leave with your son right now. I'll block Su Ming. Blind Emperor spoke seriously. Okay. Jian Wushuang nodded. Let's go. Jian Wushuang retreated with his father without hesitation. You want to leave? Su Ming sneered as he moved to give chase. Shua. The space before Su Ming suddenly split. A cold sword shadow appeared and pointed at his throat, blocking his way. You think that if you block me they can escape? Zizhong. Su Ming shouted. Marquis Zizhong, who had retreated far off in the distance, nodded and started to chase Jian Wushuang and Jian Nantian. Marquis Xiefeng followed them. Damn it. Jian Wushuang turned pale. The 2 marquises were weaker than him. Though they were unable to catch up with their targets, Marquis Zizhong was smart as he did not plan to fight with them, only to keep following his targets. Jian Wushuang and Jian Nantian could not shake them off. We're in trouble. Jian Nantian, who had been indifferent to everything, wore a solemn look. Now they were at an extreme disadvantage. The experts who received the messages responded one by one. In an ancient forest, there were numerous palaces and pavilions. On top of a mountain, a beautiful pavilion with 9 floors stood. A white-robed elder sat on a chair on the top floor, flicking through a book. He looked mild, yet he also looked as if he had experienced many of the vicissitudes of life. After receiving Su Ming's message, the white-robed elder stood up with a grim expression. Sword Ancestor Cave Mansion has finally been found. The white-robed elder suppressed his excitement as he tore a space travel spell and stepped into the wormhole. On a small island, which was situated in the center of lake, there was a simple thatched cottage. A graceful purple-clothed woman sat by a stone table while playing Go by herself in the delicate thatched cottage. Suddenly, Su Ming's message arrived. Spirit Ancestor, I have some information about the Sword Ancestor Cave Mansion. Whether you come or not is up to you. The purple-clothed woman stopped her hand. The next moment she stood up and looked up towards the sky. Sword Ancestor Cave Mansion, that old guy's cave mansion. The purple-clothed woman wore a complicated look. In an ordinary city, an old beggar lay in the corner of the street, as if he would die of starvation and coldness at any moment. He looked inconspicuous. Suddenly, Su Ming's message arrived. "Blood Blades, man, I know the whereabouts of that thing you want." The old bagger suddenly woke up. His eyes looked as sharp as a blade, radiating a sliver of light. Sword Ancestors Cave Mansion. For that thing I, Blood Blades man, have lived here for thousands of years. Finally, I'll learn of its whereabouts. Chapter 497, Enemy of the Whole World. Chapter 497, Enemy of the Whole World. The vast divine land was not as quiet as it looked. The messages Su Ming sent attracted the attention of all the old monsters in the divine land. Jian Wushuang and Jian Nantian stopped on a mountain outside Sword Suppression Valley. Since they knew they could not shake off Marquis Zizhong and Marquis Xiefeng, the father and son gave up running. After a while, a towering figure arrived. He was a benevolent-looking white-robed elder, who looked as if he had bathed in sunshine and was covered by a saintly halo. A stream of affable aura radiated from him. It gave the surrounding experts a feeling as if their faces were being caressed by their mothers. The aura was so overwhelming that all the sword principle experts lost the courage to resist. This man. Though Blind Emperor was blind, he still recognized the elder using his mind. Holy Ancestor. Blind Emperor ground out. Jian Wushuang and Jian Nantian were shocked. Holy Ancestor, you're quite fast. A cold voice rang out. A purple-clothed woman appeared in the nearby area. The surrounding void suddenly shivered, causing bizarre waves to spread out. It let out a faint hum, which sounded like an ethereal tune and reverberated through the whole area. Then more experts began to show up, one by one, all with auras powerful enough to terrify a marquis. In the blink of an eye, a dozen people had gathered in the area. Some looked cold, some were excited, and some looked evil. Each of them was far superior to any marquis and even some sovereigns. Looking at those powerful experts, all the other sword principle experts were petrified. This is Holy Ancestor, Spirit Ancestor, and Stone Ancestor. The three ancestors of our divine land have gathered. Gosh. The entire crowd was shocked. The three ancestors had been a legend in the divine land. Normally it was rare to meet a marquis, but now the three ancestors gathered. What did this mean? Those people? Who are they? They dare to stand beside the three ancestors. The three ancestors were the strongest in our divine land, right? But those other people, where are they from? I feel that they are not weaker than the three ancestors. What happened? All the spectators were confused. The three ancestors were known as the supreme experts of the divine land. Each of them had reached the cloud realm. Every ancestor possessed extremely mighty strength. The 9 sovereigns were second to them. The 9 sovereigns had only reached the Tao. Although they were also at the cloud realm, they could not hold a candle to the 3 ancestors. However, now 8 experts stood alongside the 3 ancestors. There were 8 experts as strong as the 3 ancestors in the divine land. We haven't seen you for many years. How are you? Blood Blades man, you still like being a beggar. Are you addicted to it? What's wrong with a beggar? I can take the earth as my bed and the sky as my quilt. I can drink whenever I want. I am very carefree. Dongming King, you're still in this land? The dozen supreme experts began exchanging greetings while standing in the air. After a while, Su Ming came over. Su Ming pay his respects to the masters. Su Ming, who always held a condescending attitude, behaved modestly because these experts were stronger than him. Su Ming, you said you have news on the whereabouts of the Sword Ancestor Cave Mansion. I hope for your sake that you weren't joking, or, Holy Ancestor said slowly. Every word contained a mighty deterrence. Su Ming was a bit nervous but immediately smiled. Masters, don't worry. Since I sent the messages, I do have something to tell you. Su Ming began explaining. Jian Wushuang, Jian Nantian, and Blind Emperor gathered on the back of the mountain. They all had terrible expressions. They are super experts in the cloud realm. Jian Wushuang stared at those experts. Each of them had an overwhelming aura which could terrify him. Though Su Ming was good at illusory sword principle, his aura was not powerful. However, now the aura of these experts had made the young boy lose the courage to fight. I can't figure out why our master died and who was able to kill him, Blind Emperor murmured. After all, our master was the supreme expert in the whole divine land. Even if the three ancestors allied, they could not fight against him or kill him. But now I understand. The ones who fought our master were not the three ancestors, but a group of super cloud realm experts. Maybe more than that. Jian Wushuang and Jian Nantian wore a serious look. Now they were being targeted by the whole world. They could not help but think of that. Su Ming said he would let them experience the desperation Sword Ancestor felt. Now they understood what he meant. If I guess right, those experts should have come from the outside world, Blind Emperor said seriously. On hearing this, Jian Wushuang's face fell. There was always someone stronger than you. Jian Wushuang knew there were bigger worlds outside of the Divine Land. After all, he had met Lung Rushuang several times. Though she rarely showed her power, Jian Wushuang could guess some things from what Di Jing had said. Di Jing said that he was the seventh war god under the command of Emperor Shao from Tang of the East. It had proven that Lung Rushuang and Di Jing came from the outside world. Chapter 498 Being a Joke? Chapter 498 Being a Joke. Floating above the area, stood a dozen towering figures with vigorous auras. Your Honors, the heart-killing sword technique can't be learned from others, so I'm sure Jian Wushuang and Jian Nantian know the location of Sword Ancestor's mansion and gained the technique inside, Su Ming explained. The dozen figures immediately looked toward Jian Wushuang and Jian Nantian. Boom. Terrifying power came rushing towards the father and the son. Jian Wushuang, Jian Nantian, and Blind Emperor were struck with horror under the power. Jian Wushuang, Jian Nantian, I've heard of you from one of my disciples. A bald elder spoke slowly. His body seemed as cold as a stone. He was none other than Stone Ancestor, one of the three ancestors. You may still remember that disciple Jiao Xiao, Stone Ancestor continued. Jian Wushuang and Jian Nantian looked grave when they heard the name. They did remember Jiao Xiao. After all, he was a person they would never forget. Jiao Xiao thought highly of you too, especially you, Jian Wushuang. He said that you were barely 30. At such a young age, you must have gained some great opportunities to raise your power to such a high level in such a short time, Stone Ancestor said with a smile. As for the opportunities, I'm sure you must have gained them in Sword Ancestor's cave mansion. Stone Ancestor's words made sense. No matter how talented Jian Wushuang was, he could not have become as powerful as he was now without proper opportunities. What Stone Ancestor did not know was that the greatest opportunity Jian Wushuang acquired was the heavenly creation skill. Sword Ancestor's cave mansion was second. So, tell me, where is Sword Ancestor's mansion? Holy Ancestor, a white-robed elder, asked gently. However, his eyes were chilling. Tell me or go to hell. The other elders gazed at Jian Wushuang and Jian Nantian with eager eyes. They were desperate to get Sword Ancestor's treasure, regardless of the cost. Experts like Blood Bladesman, Bagu Cave Master, and Dong Ming King were all from other places, but they had stayed in the Divine Land for 1,000 years just for the treasure, and the treasure now lay in Sword Ancestor's cave mansion. Jian Wushuang, Jian Nantian, and Blind Emperor could feel the elders' eagerness. Jian Nantian. Blind Emperor turned his unfocused eyes to Jian Nantian and said, We can't tell them the location of Master's mansion, even if we have to die here. I understand, Jian Nantian nodded seriously. Father Emperor, I have one trump card which may help us survive this time, Jian Wushuang chimed in. Oh. Jian Nantian turned to Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang looked grave. His trump card was the jade slip Lung Rushuang had given him. Lung Rushuang had told him that she would come to help him once he crumbled the jade slip. At this moment, Jian Wushuang was in a situation where he could not get out of trouble on his own, and Lung Rushuang was his only hope. Without hesitating, Jian Wushuang took out the slip and held it tightly. Lung Rushuang, if you can save us this time, I'll repay you even if the price is 10 times greater. Jian Wushuang shouted in a low voice and crumbled the slip. Immediately, the surrounding space rippled. Jian Wushuang stared at it with expectation. The elders saw Jian Wushuang's action, but they did not take it seriously. They were super experts in this world and had managed to kill Sword Ancestor 1,000 years ago, so they did not care about a little boy's trump card. What? Jian Wushuang's expression suddenly darkened. How can it be like this? Jian Wushuang was surprised that nothing happened. He had crushed the slip and there had been a ripple, but after that, nothing happened. Lung Rushuang did not come. What's going on? Jian Nantian looked toward Jian Wushuang. I don't know. Jian Wushuang frowned as worry burned inside him. After he crushed the jade slip, there was only a small response and no one appeared. At this moment his actions looked like a joke. Haha, what an idiot. Zhu Ming laughed. The experts all sneered at Jian Wushuang. What is he doing? Was he asking someone for help when he crushed that slip? But nobody came. Is he trying to deceive himself? Maybe it's true that he was seeking help, but the owner of the slip didn't reply. The owner must be afraid to face the three ancestors and the elders. It's not his fault. He is only a young boy. Who could he ask to help him? Moreover, who could even help him? Many eyes of pity were fixed on Jian Wushuang. Humph! Suddenly, a snorting sound echoed and caused everyone to quiet down. The sound was from a barefoot middle-aged man, one of the super experts. The man's aura was overbearing, which implied that he was a bad-tempered man. The man was called Bagu Cave Master. Boy, it seems that the person you are asking for help from is a coward. Stop struggling, boy. Tell me where the Sword Ancestors' cave mansion is and I'll ensure your safety. But if you dare to tell it to the others, I'll kill you, your family, and everyone who is related to you. Bagu Cave Master's chilling and threatening voice resounded through the area. His words obviously annoyed the other experts on the scene, who all frowned. Bagu Cave Master, you're in the Divine Land. As a stranger here, you are being too arrogant, Holy Ancestor said in a deep voice. Arrogant? Yes, I am, so what? Bagu Cave Master sneered. Bagu Cave Master, don't be so, Holy Ancestor shouted coldly and looked toward him, but he stopped speaking halfway, staring in a dumbfounded manner. Not only him, but also Spirit Ancestor, Stone Ancestor, Blood Bladesman, and all the others who looked at Bagu Cave Master were dumbfounded. What? What are you trying to say? Bagu Cave Master was still displaying his domineering manner. Bagu Cave Master, look behind you. Chapter 499, A Bell. Chapter 499, A Bell. Bagu Cave Master, behind you? Holy Ancestor's voice betrayed his horror. Behind me? Bagu Cave Master was confused. Yet at the same time he sensed someone breathing lightly behind him. The person was directly behind him, and he could tell they were within a half-meter from him. When did this person arrive? Bagu Cave Master's heart began to beat erratically. He was a supreme expert above the Cloud Realm. In terms of battle strength, he was confident that he could rank in the top 2 among the experts currently here, and was just a little weaker than Sword Ancestor. Therefore he could not believe that someone had approached him from behind and come so close without being noticed. How is this possible? Bagu Cave Master was terrified. As were the three ancestors, Blood Bladesman and Dong Ming King. They all watched the person standing behind Bagu Cave Master intensely. The newcomer was a skinny elder who had chilling and weird eyes. The elder wore a meaningful smile and a ghostly light flashed in his eyes. Senior Di Jing. Jian Wushuang was surprised to see the elder. He had met the elder in the Puppet Master's cave mansion earlier. Di Jing, the 7th war god under the command of Emperor Shao from Tang of the East. He had been recognized as a great demon in the Divine Land 1,000 years ago. Old guy, you are so weak yet so arrogant. Di Jing spoke slowly and his voice was frigid. The next moment, his hand moved towards Bagu Cave Master's shoulder. The hand moved slowly, but there was a strange power behind it. Bagu Cave Master's face turned red as cold sweat began rolling down his face. He tried hard to dodge Di Jing's hand, but quickly discovered that he was frozen in place by an unknown force. Finally, the hand landed on Bagu Cave Master's shoulder. It seemed like a casual pat, but Bagu Cave Master felt as if his soul had been shaken out of his body. He was in a daze and unable to struggle. It took him a while to regain his consciousness, but he was immediately scared, to the point of feeling a chill, and could not help gasping. It was so terrifying. The pat did not actually hurt him, but it showed him Di Jing's formidable power. He instantly understood that Di Jing could kill him as easily as crushing an ant. Say, Senior. Bagu Cave Master finally spoke, and the way he addressed the elder amazed all the surrounding experts. Senior? Di Jing smiled ironically. Just now, you were so arrogant and said that the boy asked a coward for help, didn't you? Sorry. Bagu Cave Master shook his head. Don't be scared. After all, it was not me who he asked for help. Di Jing put on a smile. Bagu Cave Master was relieved, but quickly he heard Di Jing add, in fact he asked my young master for help. Bagu Cave Master's eyes were wide with shock. He reckoned that Di Jing's young master had to be more powerful and terrifying than Di Jing, but he just called such a person a coward. Old guy, you also said that if the boy would not tell only you the location of Sword Ancestor's cave mansion, you would kill him and anyone related to him, so you're going to kill me and my young master? I'm his acquaintance and my young master is his friend. Di Jing's voice became cold. Bagoo Cave Master swallowed hard and his heart was trembling in fear. He regretted saying those words so much that he wanted to beat himself. Hump, I used to be so bad-tempered in the past that I would not have hesitated to kill you, Di Jing continued, but you're in luck because my master told me not to kill anyone for 1,000 years. So, I will spare your life this time, but there will be a punishment. Having said that, Di Jing struck Bagoo Cave Master with a palm before the master could react. Bagoo Cave Master was unable to struggle and could only watch as the hand landed on his head, at which point he felt a strange power enter his body. To the horror of everyone, the master's body started to shrink visibly. In an instant, his body had become as small as a baby, but the change did not stop there. Finally, under everyone's eyes, Bagoo Cave Master transformed from a human being into a bell. Yes, a bell. Di Jing held the bell in his hand while he waved it in a direction that seemed to be empty. Suddenly, a greenish-black figure came rushing to him. The figure was a huge spirit beast, more than 3 meters tall, with greenish-black scales all over its body. The beast had a dragon's head, but its body was shaped like a lion, except that it had 6 feet. What kind of spirit beast is that? Seeing the beast, even those knowledgeable super experts could not help being confused. They had never seen such a beast before and they could tell it was extremely powerful. I feel pressured by this beast. What a terrifying beast. I've been to Ancient World and a dozen Plane Worlds, but I have never seen such a strange one. The important point is that its master is more powerful. The 3 ancestors, Blood Bladesman Dong Ming King, and the others all looked at Di Jing in horror. In their eyes, Di Jing was the real monster because he turned a human being into a bell. There's no way Di Jing is from the Ancient World. Maybe he came from that place. Yes, he must have. Those experts had made guesses about Di Jing's background, which only increased their fear. Di Jing shook the bell with a smile on his face. This transforming skill invented by Witch Chiyun is really useless in fighting, but there's no better method for punishing some juniors. After saying this, Di Jing tied the bell to the beast's neck. Chapter 500, The Path of No Return. Chapter 500, The Path of No Return. Take this bell and play with it a little. When you get bored you can throw it away, Di Jing said to the beast. Moo. The spirit beast made a slight sound as if it was responding to his master. Ignoring the eyes of horror on everyone's faces, Di Jing moved to Jian Wushuang. Senior Di Jing. Jian Wushuang bowed to him. I pay my respect to you, Senior. Jian Nantian and Blind Emperor bowed as well. They were impressed by Di Jing's power just as the other experts were. Boy, you're quite capable to have drawn almost all the elders in the divine land here. Di Jing looked at Jian Wushuang with interest. Jian Wushuang forced a bitter smile and replied, Senior, please don't tease me. If it were not for you we would have been torn into pieces. Hump, don't thank me. I didn't come here of my own will. I'm just obeying my young master's order, Di Jing explained. Lung Wushuang's order? Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. Young master left home not long ago. Before leaving, she told me to take care of you and help you when you're in danger. Di Jing shot Jian Wushuang a glance with a strange expression on his face. Young master is aloof and doesn't have friends. I don't know how you were lucky enough to draw her attention. Jian Wushuang was wordless upon hearing those words, but he finally understood why he did not receive a response from Lung Wushuang when he crushed the jade slip. She had gone to another world. By the way, young master told me to only save you once, which means next time you run into danger you won't get any help from me. Di Jing stared at Jian Wushuang while smiling and continued, What's more, I can only save you and take you to a safe place. As for your enemies, you have to deal with them yourself someday. Understood. Jian Wushuang nodded. Di Jing could kill all the experts on the spot, but obviously he would not do so, and Jian Wushuang never expected him to do so. He was very grateful to Di Jing for saving his life. It doesn't matter, I still owe my life to Lung Wushuang, and someday I must pay her back. Jian Wushuang thought. Well boy, you can't stay in the divine land anymore, so I'll take you out of here, said Di Jing. Jian Wushuang's expression changed. He knew very well that with so many super experts wanting to know the location of Sword Ancestors' cave mansion from him, he would be seeking death to stay in the Divine Land, but he was concerned about his father's safety. Senior Di Jing, what about my father and Senior Blind Emperor? Jian Wushuang finally asked. Your father? Di Jing looked toward Jian Nantian and lowered his voice. Jian Nantian, in order to improve your power, you have walked on a path of no return. It's very bold of you. A path of no return? Jian Wushuang looked confused. Jian Nantian stood in silence, and a moment later he said to Jian Wushuang, Shuanger, go with Senior Di Jing. I have my own path. Father? Jian Wushuang frowned. Boy, your father is right. He has his own path. Since he is already on that path, no one can stop him, not even me or my master. He is on his own. Di Jing persuaded Jian Wushuang. Upon hearing this, Jian Wushuang frowned harder. From what was said, he knew there was something wrong with his father, but he was not clear on what it was. Father has stepped on a path of no return to improve his power. No one can change his mind or stop him. I had planned to stay in the Divine Land longer, but it seems that I have to go for now. Jian Nantian murmured and took out a red token. The token looked unusual. However, using his sheer strength, Jian Nantian broke it. Voila! An overwhelming energy surged out from the token and cut the void open, revealing a red door. The inside of the door was completely red as if it led to hell. Interesting. Even I dared not enter that door in the past. Seeing the door, Di Jing gasped. Father, what's going on here? Jian Wushuang asked anxiously. I have no choice, son. Jian Nantian looked grave as his eyes fixed on Jian Wushuang. It's true that there is no turning back on this path, but I have to do so to get a chance to see Wuming again. Mother? Jian Wushuang felt rather surprised to hear his mother's name, and merely said, Hasn't mother been taken away by Jiao Xiao? Jiao Xiao? Hell no. Jiao Xiao couldn't control her. She is not a common woman. She has left this world and this is the only path that can lead me to her. I have to take this path no matter how dangerous it will be. Even if there is no turning back. As long as I can see her again, I don't care if I have to become a devil or a ghost. Jian Nanshan's voice was frosty but sonorous, and there was a firmness in his eyes. Jian Wushuang was moved by his words. There was a smile on the corner of Jian Nanshan's mouth as he cast Jian Wushuang a glancing look, then he entered the door without looking back. As soon as Jian Nantian crossed the door slowly disappeared in the air. Another man who fell deep in love. Di Jing shook his head. Jian Wushuang felt lost. It was only after a long while that he took a deep breath to calm himself down. Everyone has their own path. Since father was so determined, he has to do this on his own. Maybe someday when I become much more powerful I can help him. For now I'm too weak. Jian Wushuang clenched his fists as the desire for power burned in his eyes. Jian Nantian has left, so now it's your turn. Di Jing looked toward Blind Emperor and said in an icy voice, Blind Emperor, you know very well that it won't change anything even if I save you, don't you? Jian Wushuang's expression changed when he heard this. What do Di Jing's words mean? Blind Emperor smiled bitterly, Senior, I know I'm at death's door, but before dying I have to complete my mission, so I hope you can grant my wish. Speak, Di Jing replied. I want revenge for my master. Blind Emperor spoke with a cold and decisive tone, one word at a time. Chapter 501, Wait for Me. Chapter 501, Wait for Me. Revenge. Di Jing frowned and shot Su Ming a glance. Su Ming's face fell when he heard what Blind Emperor said. Okay, I grant your wish. Di Jing nodded. Just as those words escaped his mouth, Di Jing waved his hand and released a restriction that covered a large space. And that space was a battlefield. As Di Jing waved his hand again, Blind Emperor and Su Ming were immediately pushed into the battlefield by an immaterial force. This is a special battlefield just for you two. After entering it, only one of you will be able to walk out alive while the other one has to die inside. Di Jing's voice echoed throughout the battlefield. Thank you so much, Blind Emperor said gratefully. Blind Emperor and Su Ming stood facing each other 100 feet apart. Damn you, blind man. Su Ming looked grim. He had worried that Di Jing would kill him directly, but now it seemed that Di Jing wanted him to fight against Blind Emperor. Since it was a battle of life and death, Su Ming had to kill Blind Emperor in order to survive. Blind Emperor was trembling from being so excited. I've been waiting for this moment for so long. Su Ming, you betrayed our master. When he was still alive, he told me to kill you the moment I met you. Now, 1,000 years have passed and I'm on my deathbed, but finally I've gotten the chance to accomplish Master's wish. I'll be proud when I see him in heaven. Blind guy, don't be so stubborn as you're already at death's door, Su Ming said coldly. At death's door? Blind Emperor. Upon hearing the words, Jian Wushuang finally understood that Blind Emperor was on his way to heaven. No wonder Di Jing said that whether or not he saved Blind Emperor, it would not change anything. This was a rare chance for Blind Emperor to get revenge for the Sword Ancestor. Go to hell. With no more words, Blind Emperor made his move. Su Ming went over to the Emperor after taking a breath. If Blind Emperor was not dying, Su Ming would not have agreed to have a tough fight with him because his illusory sword principle would be overcome by Blind Emperor's heart sword principle. However, he was now involved in the battle and had to fight until one of them was dead. One would live, one would die. Blind guy, I will send you to hell. Su Ming was going to go all out in the fight. Soon after, the two men were engaged in a fierce battle. Outside the battlefield, the experts watched the fighting quietly. None of them dared to or could interfere in it. Blood Bladesman and Dong Ming King stood in silence, well behaved. Half a day later, the battle was settled. Ha, blind guy, how could you think that you can kill me? Su Ming laughed crazily in the center of the battlefield, his face twisted, his eyes red. He was wild with great joy. I have to thank you really. I've been stuck in this realm for 1,000 years and now, thanks to this battle, I've made a breakthrough. Su Ming clenched his fists. The onlookers could feel an overwhelming aura emanating from him. An aura that was much more powerful than someone in the cloud realm could have. No, this is not real. Blind Emperor trembled, unwilling to give up. He had a bloody hole left by a long sword on his chest. His breath was dying out. Master, I'm so sorry that I didn't kill him. Blind Emperor smiled sadly as his body fell to the ground. Watching this scene, the onlookers let out sighs of pity. Su Ming made a breakthrough. At such a critical moment, he managed to break through his realm. What a pity. Blind Emperor had overpowered Su Ming with his heart sword principle and absolutely had the upper hand. Who would have thought that Su Ming could break through his realm at the last moment? Everyone had witnessed Su Ming's breakthrough and how he had become as powerful as the three ancestors, Blood Bladesman and Bigu Cave Master. That was also why Su Ming had survived and Blind Emperor had been killed. It's a pity. Seeing the result of the battle, Di Jing could not help shaking his head. He then looked toward Jian Wushuang. Boy, it's time to leave. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands tightly, his face flushed red, his teeth chattering. He gazed at the laughing Su Ming. I know you're disappointed, but you have to put your feelings away now. Someday, when you're powerful enough to get revenge, you can make those who hurt you pay you back whatever you want. Di Jing tried to comfort Jian Wushuang. Okay. Jian Wushuang nodded and his eyes became red. On this day he and his father had been driven to the verge of despair, and Blind Emperor had even lost his life. Without Di Jing all of them would have already died. He had to get his revenge someday. Di Jing waved his hand and cut the void open, revealing a mysterious, huge wormhole. Go, Di Jing said to Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang walked forward toward the wormhole, but suddenly he stopped and turned back to look at Su Ming and the other experts. There was a dead silence as everyone stared back at Jian Wushuang. They could see a fierce and chilling killing intent in his eyes. Su Ming, I'll never forget what you've done today. And all of you with him. Someday when I come back, no matter if you're in heaven or hell, I'll kill you all. Wait for me. Wait for me. Jian Wushuang's last sentence kept swirling around in the experts' minds. Buzz. With that sound, Jian Wushuang stepped into the wormhole and disappeared in the next moment as if he had been swallowed. What remained was his voice full of hatred resounding through the area. As Su Ming, the three ancestors, Blood Bladesman, and all the other experts watched Jian Wushuang leave, anxiety was aroused in their hearts. Maybe some years later they would have to pay him back with blood for what they had done today? Chapter 502, The Wu Yan Tribe. Chapter 502, The Wu Yan Tribe. There were numerous plane worlds in the ancient world. The world with the divine land at its center was just one of those plane worlds. Outside the Divine Land, there were a large number of places with a considerable number of warriors, who were as powerful as those in the Divine Land or even more powerful than them. The Monster Continent was one of those places and was more vast than the Divine Land. A purple crescent moon hung high in the sky, and the world was bathed in its blurry moonlight. In a desolate land, the void was suddenly cut open. And from the crack, a figure shot out, who eventually fell to the ground battered and exhausted. That figure was Jianghu Shuang. And after he crashed to the ground, he found the pain inside him even more unbearable. My body. Jianghu Shuang's face flushed red in great pain. When he had tried to defeat Su Ming, he displayed the third movement of the soul-devouring secret skill. That movement had put too heavy a burden on his body. In addition to that, he had been severely crushed by the space inside the wormhole, which made his wound even worse. As a result, he passed out not long after falling to the ground. The next morning. Hurry! Uncle Dragon must be waiting for us. He will blame us for being late. Brother Jianghu, wait for me. Haha, let's see who will be the first one to get to Uncle Dragon. A group of teenagers was running quickly and cheerfully. There were 7 of them in total. The older ones were 14 or 15 years old, while the younger ones were 8 or 9. Children as they were, they still moved so fast that they could cross hundreds of meters in the blink of an eye. Among them, a round-faced girl with a ponytail followed behind the boys. She was only 8 and was the youngest one. Suddenly, the girl stopped running, attracted by someone lying off to the side. Little you, what are you doing? An older boy who wore an animal skin turned back toward the girl. Brother Jianghu, look, there is someone lying on the ground, the girl said to him. Huh. The boy came over and said, he's alive, but it looks like he is badly wounded. Brother Jianghu, we must save him, the girl suggested. Okay. The boy Jianghu nodded. He turned to the other boys who had gathered around, saying, you guys go to see Uncle Dragon yourselves. Little you and I have to go back now. Please apologize for us to Uncle Dragon. Sure, they replied to him. Then Jianghu said, little you, let's take him home. The girl nodded. She walked over to Jianghu Shuang and held him over her head by his back with both hands. Though Jianghu Shuang was not strongly built, he was a tall and robust adult, weighing over 70 kilograms. However, the girl held him up without any effort. Let's go. Jianghu called out. The girl immediately started running while carrying Jianghu Shuang. The people in the Divine Land would have been stunned beyond words if they had witnessed this scene. When Jianghu Shuang finally regained consciousness, 2 days had passed. He woke up to find himself in a camp with a round-faced girl about 8 or 9 years old looking at him. Upon seeing Jianghu Shuang open his eyes, the girl beamed and cried out, Dad, he's woken up. A burly man who was making tea in the center of the camp immediately walked over to them. Brother, you've finally woken up. The burly man spoke gently even though he looked rough. Jianghu Shuang's eyes narrowed at the sight of the man. He is not only a lord but a superior lord and may even be more powerful than that, Jianghu Shuang thought. He had reached that conclusion because he could feel the man's aura constricting him. Where am I? Jianghu Shuang asked while looking around. You're in the Wu Yan tribe and I'm the leader of this place. You can call me Wu Yuan and she is my daughter Wu Yu, the burly man answered. 2 days ago, my daughter found you on the back of our mountain and brought you here. Jianghu Shuang took a look at the girl. A bit fat but lovely, the girl blinked her large dark eyes. Seeing Jianghu Shuang stare at her, she gave him a smile. Thank you so much for saving my life, Jianghu Shuang said gratefully. You're welcome. We're both human beings and should help each other. Wu Yuan smiled. By the way, what's your name, brother? Which tribe are you from? Tribe. Jianghu Shuang then realized that he was in a place that had many tribes. I'm Jianghu Shuang. He told them his real name. Since he was no longer in the Divine Land, there was no need to conceal his name from others. But Jianghu Shuang decided to make up a story. My tribe was extinguished by other tribes. In his opinion, being that this place consisted of tribes, it would not be a surprise to learn that a tribe had fallen in a conflict with another one. But to Jianghu Shuang's surprise, Wu Yuan looked grave when hearing this answer. He could see anger in the man's eyes. The man shouted, Bastards! How can those tribes still fight against each other for their own benefits while we human beings are oppressed by demonic beasts? Jianghu Shuang was stumped for words. Human beings are oppressed by demonic beasts. What demonic beasts? Jianghu Shuang was confused. Chieftain! Chieftain! Suddenly someone shouted from outside. Wu Yuan regained his previous manner. He looked at Jian Wushuang and said, "Brother, you're seriously wounded and need a good rest. You can stay here for a while, just tell Yuer what you need. I've got to go now." After saying this, Wu Yuan walked out of the camp. Chapter 503, A Girl of Unusual Strength. Chapter 503, A Girl of Unusual Strength. Jian Wushuang and Wu Yu were the only ones remaining in the camp. He tried to get out of bed, but he could feel a great pain the moment that he moved. Helplessly, he lay his back against a pillar, which was used to support the camp, as he looked toward Wu Yu. "Can I call you Big Brother Wushuang?" Wu Yu blinked her eyes and then stared at Jian Wushuang. "Big Brother Wushuang, Dad said that you shouldn't move because you're badly injured." Jian Wushuang smiled at her and replied, "Little Yu, was it you who found me in back of the mountain and brought me here?" "Yes." Wu Yu nodded heavily. "And you did it on your own?" Jian Wushuang asked with doubt. "Of course." Wu Yu nodded again. Jian Wushuang looked incredulous upon hearing her words. He could not believe that a girl of 8 had carried him such a distance all on her own. It required a lot of strength to do that. As he could not find any sign of spiritual power on the girl, he thought that it was impossible for her, a non-warrior, to have done that on her own. If he knew that the girl had taken him home by holding him up over her head, he would have found it even harder to believe. "Big Brother Wushuang, don't look down on me. I have a lot of strength. Although I'm only 8, those who are a bit older than me might not match me in strength," Wu Yu said proudly. "Really?" Jian Wushuang held out his hand and said, "Little Yu, try to hit me on my hand." "Big Brother Wushuang, you're injured. Are you sure that you want me to try it?" Wu Yu was hesitant to hit him. "Just try your best," Jian Wushuang answered. Wu Yu immediately clenched her fist and casually punched toward Jian Wushuang's hand. The fist caused wind to flow through the air, and when it fell on Jian Wushuang's hand, it made him shake. "Big Brother Wushuang, are you okay?" Wu Yu asked with concern. Jian Wushuang was amazed. He could tell there had to be thousands of pounds of strength behind what was merely a punch. The punch had not done any harm to him despite him being seriously injured, but it was still hard for him to believe that an 8-year-old girl could produce it. Monster! Jian Wushuang was rocked inside and out. He had met some people who were gifted with unusual strength in the divine land like Shui Luo, but none of them could obtain such strength by 8. What amazed Jian Wushuang more was that there were others in the tribe besides Wu Yu that had such unusual strength. "Little Yu, you just said that some of your big brothers might not match you in strength. Would I be correct in understanding that there might be someone more powerful than you?" asked Jian Wushuang. "Yes, you're right." Wu Yu nodded. "In our tribe, I'm peerless at my age, but there are indeed some brothers with more strength than me. The best among them is Brother Jianghu. He is 15 now. When he was 8, he could exert tens of thousands of pounds of strength. I'm no match for him at the same age." Exerting a strength of tens of thousands of pounds at only 8? Jian Wushuang was really astonished beyond words. Suddenly, a child's voice reached Jian Wushuang's ears and then he saw a boy come in. Little Yu, the boy shouted excitedly to Wu Yu, "Brother Jianghu is practicing his spear skills. If you don't hurry, I'll leave you behind to watch him practice." After saying this, the boy ran out of the camp quickly. Brother Jianghu is practicing his spear skills. Wu Yu became visibly excited. She said to Jian Wushuang, "Big Brother Wushuang, I'll leave you for a while. If you need me, just call me. I'll be nearby and won't miss your voice." The girl left the camp in a hurry. Seeing this, Jian Wushuang forced a smile. Brother Jianghu? The boy who could exert a strength of tens of thousands of pounds at 8? He was quite interested in the boy's strength, so he ignored the pain in his body and struggled to go outside. He left the camp and lay against the front door, his eyes fixed on a group of boys and girls in a cleared space. The boys and girls were intently watching another boy display spear skills. The boy seemed to be 14 or 15. For such a young age he was rather tall and strong, simply wearing an animal skin. His exposed skin shone in the sunlight, making him look even wilder. With a long spear in hand, even though his moves might have been displayed in a clumsy manner, Jian Wushuang could see a mighty power behind them. He is at the peak of the Yang Void realm. Jian Wushuang squinted at the boy with amazement rising in his heart. In the divine land, it was not possible to see someone reach the peak of the Yang Void Realm at only 15. Even the talented Lin Lan Jian Wushuang's discipline had only been able to do it at 18. And that was why Jian Wushuang was so surprised. He had just arrived in this world and had immediately met this highly gifted boy. What a strong body and mighty power. Jian Wushuang could see how the boy crushed the void with his spear, and he could hear exploding sounds one after another. He could tell that the boy was as powerful as the lords in the divine land. Jian Wushuang looked around and narrowed his eyes. Besides him, all the other boys and girls here also have strong bodies. What kind of place am I in? Chapter 504, The Monster Continent. Chapter 504, The Monster Continent. In the early morning of the third day after Jian Wushuang woke up, Wu Yuan came to visit the young man. In the tent, "Little brother Wushuang, you look good. You're getting better, right?" Wu Yuan stood in front of the young man. "Thanks to little Yu's care, I'll make a full recovery soon," Jian Wushuang said. "Ah, that's good. I've already told the other elders that you will join the guard, so we will be teammates," Wu Yuan said with a smile. Jian Wushuang also broke into a smile. Jian Wushuang had found that the people here were warm and friendly, and Wu Yuan had invited him to join the guard of Wu Yen tribe the day before yesterday. "Father, elder brother Qing who said you would go out with Uncle Dragon?" Wu Yu asked while looking at his father. "Yep." Wu Yuan nodded. "We received news that a monster spy was in the nearby Green Hillock tribe, but they found out too late and he escaped. So, the leaders from the nearby tribes will lead their people through the surrounding area in hopes that they can find and kill him." A surge of killing intent gushed from his eyes. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang was lost in thought. He had learned a bit about this world after spending 3 days in this tribe. He knew it was called the Monster Continent. This world was different from those plain worlds such as the Divine Land and the Ancient World because it was famous for its demonic beasts. The Monster Continent was much larger than the Divine Land. Most of the territory was occupied by demonic beasts, so there was less than 10% of the territory left for human warriors to settle in. Demonic beasts and human warriors were born to be deadly enemies. The monster groups, who possessed 90% of the territory, were more powerful than the human warriors, so they desired to destroy all the humans and conquer the entire continent, turning it into a paradise for demonic beasts. The humans tried their best to resist and even built the Monster Exterminating League. It consisted of the supreme commanders from human tribes. But, with only this amount of strength, the humans could barely guard the last 10% of the territory. The monsters realized that they were unable to overthrow the humans by brute force, so they sent numerous monster spies and planned to destroy them from the inside. These monster spies looked the same as human warriors, and only monster discriminators could tell whether they were human beings or monsters. Once a monster spy was found, human warriors would kill him without showing any mercy. "Father, be careful," Wu Yu said. "Don't worry, I'm powerful." After saying that, Wu Yuan left. Looking at Wu Yuan's back, Jian Wushuang nodded secretly. Wu Yuan was powerful indeed. He was at the Six Cloud Realm, which was equivalent to the level of superior lords from the Divine Land. However, human warriors from the Monster Continent were more powerful than warriors from the Divine Land. Cultivating in the Monster Continent was superior to that in the Divine Land. Furthermore, as they were born to fight demonic beasts, human warriors had a hint of demonic beast bloodlines. Therefore, human warriors were born strong and more powerful than warriors from the Divine Land. Among the lords Jian Wushuang had met so far, Black Yuan Lord's body was considered to be extremely heaven-defying, but in the Monster Continent, every lord was stronger than Black Yuan Lord. As the tribe leader, Wu Yuan's body was even more terrifying. The experts from the Divine Land are nothing when compared to the experts from the Monster Continent, Jian Wushuang thought. He also knew that the Wu Yen tribe was one of the countless ordinary tribes. There were many tribes more powerful than the Wu Yen tribe. The Wu Yen tribe had more than 10,000 clansmen. They all started cultivating at 12 years old, but they improved faster than warriors from the Divine Land. In a normal case, even the most untalented clansmen would be able to reach the primordial gold core realm. Even the ordinary ones would reach the Yin-Yang void realm at the age of 40 or 50. The more powerful would reach divine transcendence. Even the weakest human warriors who reached divine transcendence could make it to the pinnacle of the Saint realm. With their powerful bodies, their battle strength was stage 2 or even stage 3. Therefore, the warriors from the monster continent were more powerful than the divine land. An ordinary tribe like the Wu Yen tribe had hundreds of Saint Realm experts and 6 lords. There were countless tribes like that, so the number of such powerful experts among the entire human population was amazing. It was said that there were 33 temple masters in the Monster Exterminating League. The 33 temple masters held supreme positions among the humans. Jian Wushuang estimated that those temple masters might have broken through the cloud realm, which would make them as strong as the 3 ancestors. If that was true, it was really terrifying because they could still be so powerful under the oppression of the demonic beast. The sun sank and the night approached. In the tent, Jian Wushuang sat with his legs crossed as he took out a beige elixir and ate it. This vitality elixir is nice. I thought that it will take me 10 days or half a month to recover, but I will have recovered in 2 days at most because of this vitality elixir, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. The vitality elixir was a superior second-grade pill. Jian Wushuang found a dozen elixirs in Marquis Nanyu's interspatial ring. He had been taking them these last few days and they were really helpful for his recovery. At this moment, an uproar rose outside the tent. What's happening? Jian Wushuang was surprised and instantly walked out. Chapter 505, A Demonic Beast. Chapter 505, A Demonic Beast. Jian Wushuang saw numerous clansmen swarm into the drill ground. Big brother Wushuang, Wu Yu said while walking over with Jianghu. Little you Jianghu, what happened? Jian Wushuang asked with a tinge of doubt. My father caught a monster spy. They're in the drill ground now. Everyone is going to take a look, Wu Yu replied with excitement. A monster spy? Jian Wushuang was surprised and showed some interest in it. He wanted to know what the real overlords in the monster continent looked like. Go. Let's follow them. Jian Wushuang, Jianghu and Wu Yu headed for the drill ground. The huge drill ground was crowded with numerous clansmen. Jian Wushuang and his 2 companions elbowed their way and appeared at the front of the crowd. He is the monster spy. Jian Wushuang saw a black-haired man who was locked in an iron cage at the center of the drill ground. The black-haired man was 2 meters tall. Except for being a bit more muscular, there was no difference between this black-haired man and a human warrior. If he had not been clear about this black-haired man's identity, Jian Wushuang would be unable to recognize this black-haired man as a demonic beast. Is he really a demonic beast? Jian Wushuang could not help feeling doubt. Most of the clansmen were also astonished. They lived in the tribe and most of them had never fought with a demonic beast, so it was no wonder that they did not believe it. The black-haired man was roaring crazily inside the cage. I'm a clansman from Green Hillock tribe. Why did you arrest me? Why? Let me go. Otherwise, when our leader finds out, he will seek justice for me. The black-haired man got angry as if he felt aggrieved. You are still being tight-lipped about it even now. Wu Yuan and the other elders gathered on the platform while staring coldly at the black-haired man. Go invite Elder Water, Wu Yuan ordered. We already have. He should arrive soon, an elder replied. Okay. Wu Yuan nodded. He looked over at the black-haired man and said, Don't worry. My Wu Yen tribe is always fair. We never do any human being an injustice. If we confirm that you are not a monster spy, I'll personally send you back and even apologize to your leader. But if you're a monster spy, you'll die without a doubt. His tone was filled with killing intent. Those clansmen also wore a cold look. They had rarely met a demonic beast. However, since they were born in the monster continent, their bones had been infused with hatred towards demonic beasts. Demonic beasts and human warriors were deadly enemies. Demonic beasts desired to extinguish the humans while the latter had been fighting for more living space. If a monster spy was caught in the human territory, he would be killed without a doubt. The black-haired man, who felt himself being surrounded by killing intent, had a grim expression on his face, but he started to panic in his heart. After a while, an elder with long eyebrows who was holding a cane walked over. Elder Water. The clansmen present, including Wu Yuan, bowed to him. After all, this elder had a high status in the Wu Yen tribe and he was the only monster discriminator in the entire tribe. Only monster discriminators were able to distinguish demonic beasts from human warriors, so even though a monster discriminator was weak, he was still respected. Elder Water, please help us, Wu Yuan said to Elder Water. Okay. Elder Water nodded slightly and looked at the black-haired man with his turbid vision. Then a strange light flashed in his eyes. Monster discriminator. The black-haired man paled because he knew he could not argue his case anymore. However, he did not feel hopeless. He started to look around and eventually fixed his eyes on Wu Yu. Instantly, he made up his mind. Boom. An overwhelming aura radiated from the black-haired man and his eyes became red. He violently slapped the iron cage. The cage was made of special materials, so it was strong enough to hold a Saint Realm human or a demonic beast. However, judging from his aura, the black-haired man had reached the Cloud Realm. Therefore, he easily broke the cage into pieces. Oh no! Wu Yuan and other elders were shocked. A Cloud Realm demonic beast. Asshole, he had been hiding his strength and aura. Damn it. It happened so fast and it was outside of their expectations. They had received the news that the monster spy was in the Saint Realm, and they also confirm it because the black-haired man was unable to resist when they caught him, so they locked him in a cage. In a normal case, a Saint Realm human being or demonic beast would be unable to break the cage. They did not expect the black-haired man had been hiding his strength and that he was not in the Saint Realm, but a Cloud Realm demonic beast. At this moment, the black-haired man leaped toward the crowd at an amazing speed that left Wu Yuan and the other elders unable to block him in time. Wah! A blood light dashed out and moved toward where Jian Wushuang, Wu Yu and Jianghu stood. The only way I can survive is to hold this girl hostage. That will provide me with an opportunity to leave. The black-haired man stared at Wu Yu. Wu Yu and Jianghu turned pale. Jianghu immediately took out his long spear and tried to block the attack. However, a figure blocked him and Wu Yu before he was even able to make his move. That person was none other than Jian Wushuang. Chapter 506, The Divine General Arrives. Chapter 506, The Divine General Arrives. The black-haired man radiated killing intent as he stared at Wu Yu with his red eyes. He had not taken it seriously when Jian Wushuang blocked in front of Wu Yu. Get out of my way. The black-haired man growled while slapping at Jian Wushuang as if he was shooing flies. Jian Wushuang wore a flinty look as he immediately reacted. As he clenched his right hand, a mighty power flowed through his arm and gathered in his fist. Bang! A deep collision was heard and the black-haired man immediately retreated. How is this possible? The black-haired man was surprised. He could not believe that he himself, a Cloud Realm demonic beast, was defeated by a Saint Realm human warrior in a confrontation based on pure strength. He had been unable to show his full strength because of serious injuries when he was besieged in the Green Hillock tribe, but this human warrior was more seriously injured than he was. Demonic beast bastard. This roar caused the black-haired man to be filled with despair. Wu Yuan, like a furious lion, appeared beside the black-haired man and threw a punch at his head. The black-haired man was unable to resist, so his head exploded, killing him without a doubt. Wu Yuan quickly moved in front of Jian Wushuang and asked, "Little brother Wushuang, are you all right?" "I'm fine." Jian Wushuang coughed. He had gained the upper hand in that confrontation, but it had still caused his injury to worsen because the black-haired man's attack caused his blood to surge through his body. Wu Yuan said in a gravelly voice, "It was my mistake. I didn't expect that monster spy to be hiding his strength." "Little brother Wushuang, you're very powerful. Even as a Saint Realm expert with serious injuries, you were able to block a Cloud Realm monster spy. You must have an amazing body." Wu Yuan could not hold back his praise. It was rare to see such a powerful body in the monster continent. "Big brother Wushuang, thanks." Wu Yu looked at Jian Wushuang with gratitude. Jian Wushuang smiled. "Okay, since the monster spy has been killed, everyone can leave." After Wu Yuan spoke, numerous clansmen obeyed his order and left. Jianghu. Wu Yuan looked over at Jianghu. "You were good just now." Wu Yuan noticed that Jianghu immediately tried to block with his long spear when the monster spy charged toward Wu Yu. It was hard for a 15-year-old teenager to have such quick and reliable reactions in a pinch. Jianghu stroked his head while grinning. "Don't be too proud. The monster spy was at the Cloud Realm. Even though he was injured, you were still incapable of fighting him. If Wushuang had not come to help, you would have been killed." Jianghu lowered his head involuntarily. "All right, I don't want to blame you, but you should remember to only do what you're able to do next time. You're the strongest youth in our tribe and your father is our hero. If you die, I won't be able to give him an explanation," Wu Yuan said. "Yes." Jianghu nodded. Speaking of your father, he sent a message to me not long ago. He might return in a few days, so you'll get to see him soon, Wu Yuan added. Really? Jianghu looked up with excitement. Get prepared for it. Your father seldom comes back, so this is your chance to show him what you have learned over these years, Wu Yuan said with a smile. Okay. Jianghu nodded. He was overwhelmed with excitement. Jianghu's father? Jian Wushuang was surprised. He knew that Jianghu's father was the tribe hero and a divine general of the Monster Exterminating League, who had battled with demonic beasts and only returned once every several years. A divine general from the Monster Exterminating League. It said that only a top expert in the Cloud Realm is qualified to take up this post. I wonder how powerful he is, Jian Wushuang thought with a hint of expectation. It was still peaceful in the Wu Yen tribe. The humans were united as one and rarely had conflicts with each other. Even when there was a conflict, it would be settled peacefully, so fierce fighting between two tribes was rarely seen. After sitting on the bed all night, Jian Wushuang finally opened his eyes. My strength has reached its peak. Jian Wushuang's eyes radiated a flicker of delight. He had stayed in the monster continent for a dozen days already. Aided by his own recovery ability and vitality elixirs, he had fully recovered. Only now that his strength had made a full recovery could he be confident in doing what he wanted. Uncle Qinghua is back. Uncle Qinghua is back. A loud voice instantly shook the entire tribe. Uncle Qinghua? Jianghu's father? Jian Wushuang frowned. He immediately walked out of his tent and headed for the drill ground. Jian Wushuang saw a middle-aged man in a black suit standing in the sky, surrounded by many clansmen. The middle-aged man, with stubble on his face, was casually chatting with Wu Yuan and Jianghu. The other clansmen on the drill ground were looking at him in admiration. He was their hero. They were proud of him. Seven Cloud Realm. Jian Wushuang recognized the middle-aged man's level. As I expected, divine generals are experts over the Seven Cloud Realm, Jian Wushuang thought. A Seven Cloud Realm expert was equivalent to a marquis in the Divine Land. Here, human warriors had powerful bodies, so their strength was superior to warriors from the Divine Land when they were at the same level. Father, look at me, Jianghu said in a low voice. A long spear appeared in his hand. Then he violently stabbed at the space in front of him. The strike contained a mighty power and caused a loud, air-piercing sound. Chapter 507 Bone Fusion Technique. Chapter 507 Bone Fusion Technique. The power of that attack has already reached the Saint Realm, Jian Wushuang thought privately. A hail of exclamations rose from the crowd. Qinghua's eyes lit up. Very good. When I was 16 I had only mastered level 2 of the Bone Fusion Technique, but you're only 15 and have already reached this level. On this point you're stronger than me. Yep, Jianghu said with somewhat pride. Dad, I'll become Divine General just like you. I will definitely be stronger than you. Haha. The group of people laughed. Okay, but seriously, leader, I have something to tell you, Qinghua said soberly. Let's talk inside, Wu Yuan replied. Then they all glided toward the tent. The clansmen also left. Little you, Qinghua just mentioned the Bone Fusion Technique. What is it? Jian Wushuang asked. Wu Yu immediately responded, it's a body reshaping technique that our clansmen practice from childhood. It can help us improve in both body and strength. I have also practiced this technique, but I'm still weaker than Jianghu and haven't reached level 1. Jianghu had already succeeded at my age. A body reshaping technique that improves body and strength? Jian Wushuang was surprised and asked, Little you, may I read it? Of course. Wu Yu nodded and pointed forward. There it is. Jian Wushuang saw a pitch-black stone tablet standing on the edge of the drill ground. He had never noticed this stone tablet ever since he arrived here. The bone fusion technique is carved on that stone tablet? Jian Wushuang wore an odd look. He walked toward the stone tablet with Wu Yu. On the stone tablet, he saw many tightly packed small characters carved on it. The technique, bone fusion, was comprised of thousands of characters and was divided into 4 levels. A technique is exhibited here? Jian Wushuang was astonished and then asked, Little you, can I practice this technique? Its first 4 levels are widely spread throughout the monster continent. Many clansmen have cultivated this technique, so it's okay if you want to practice. Big brother Wushuang, since your body is so powerful, haven't you practiced a similar technique before? Wu Yu wondered. My father said we can only practice one technique like this. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. He had a powerful body because of the heavenly creation skill and his own cultivation. He had never practiced a body reshaping technique that could improve his body strength. Actually, the heavenly creation skill, which was related to spiritual power, was only a cultivation method. I don't know whether this technique will work for me, but I have to try, Jian Wushuang thought while looking at the stone tablet. Jian Wushuang did not hesitate. He sat with his legs crossed and started to practice the first level of the bone fusion technique. Wu Yu waited by his side. Bone fusion technique was a special skill for cultivating bones. Jian Wushuang had never heard of it in the Divine Land. The practitioner's own body affected his cultivation speed. The more powerful the body was, the more easily the practitioner would improve. After a while, Jian Wushuang realized that he had reached level 1 of the bone fusion technique. So easy. Jian Wushuang smiled, but he was not surprised. His body was comparable to a superior second-grade magic weapon. Even the Cloud Realm monster spy's body was inferior to his. For his body, practicing this technique was as easy as drinking water. He began to practice level 2 of the bone fusion technique. He also succeeded in reaching level 2 with ease. Level 3 and level 4 were also as easy as pie for him. Jian Wushuang felt a change in his body. This feels great. My body is... Jian Wushuang realized that his body had become 3 times stronger than before. 3 times. Gosh. Jian Wushuang was totally stunned. He had wondered whether this technique would be helpful to him, but it gave him a big surprise after he reached level 4. How powerful he was now. I feel like I'm stronger than those Cloud Realm experts in the Divine Land, Jian Wushuang said, then sighed. He was only in the Saint Realm. Owing to the heavenly creation skill, his spiritual power was superior to other experts at the same level, but much weaker than Cloud Realm experts. However, with his spiritual power and body strength, he could fight against Cloud Realm experts. Nevertheless, he was able to fight a Cloud Realm expert by only using his body strength now. Aided by his spiritual power, he was more powerful than an ordinary Cloud Realm expert. It meant that if he, a Saint Realm expert with 7 origin marks, exerted his full strength, he could defeat a 7 Cloud Realm expert. That wasn't even counting his sword soul. It only took a short while for Jian Wushuang to reach level 4 of the bone fusion technique and improve exponentially. I know the 4th level is not the highest. Jian Wushuang stared at the characters on the stone tablet. The 4th level was not the end of bone fusion technique, but the higher levels were not carved on the stone tablet. Chapter 508 Catch Him. Chapter 508 Catch Him. Where is the rest of this technique? Jian Wushuang thought with a flicker of desire in his eyes. Since he was able to reach level 4 with ease, it would be easy for him to master level 5 and level 6. That meant he still had more room to improve his body and strength. While Jian Wushuang was absorbed in cultivation, Wu Yuan and Qinghua were walking towards the drill ground, accompanied by many clansmen. Leader, I brought back level 5 and level 6 of the bone fusion technique. I'll carve the level 5 manual onto the stone tablet as for level 6. It's precious, so I'll give it to you. Leader, if our clansmen master level 5, you can give them the level 6 manual, Qinghua said. Okay, I think that's good. Wu Yuan nodded. I'll accept it. Qinghua will all benefit from the 2 manuals you brought back. Thanks. For our tribe and the entire human population, this is what I should do. Qinghua causally waved his hand. They quickly arrived at the stone tablet, just in time to see Jian Wushuang practicing the bone fusion technique. Little brother Wushuang? Wu Yuan was astonished. He's practicing the bone fusion technique? He has a powerful body and is considered terrifying among warriors at the same level. Hasn't he already practiced a body reshaping technique? Did he just start practicing level 1? Qinghua wore a bemused expression. Human warriors from the monster continent usually exercised from birth. When their body became strong enough, they started to practice body reshaping technique, which was usually around the age of 7. Therefore, it was odd for them to see Jian Wushuang practicing this technique at the age of 20. Leader, who is he? Qinghua asked. He's Jian Wushuang, Wu Yuan replied. Not long ago, his tribe was exterminated by another tribe. He had been chased out by his enemy and fainted in the back of the mountain. Yor found him and brought him back. It's strange. Several days ago we caught a Cloud Realm monster spy. Because of my mistake, the spy almost hurt Yor and Jianghu. Fortunately, he blocked the attack in time. His body is already very powerful, but he hasn't practiced a body reshaping technique? Wu Yuan frowned. Hearing this, Jianghu's face fell. Jian Wushuang stopped his cultivation when Wu Yuan and Jianghu noticed that Jian Wushuang had reached level 4 of the bone fusion technique. He has reached the 4th level in such a short time. It should be easy for him to reach level 5 or even level 6, but why hasn't he practiced a body reshaping technique before? Jianghu narrowed his eyes. Catch him. Jianghu growled. The clansmen behind him rushed forward even though they were puzzled about what was happening. Jian Wushuang, who had reached level 4, was in a celebratory mood, but as he saw clansmen dashing toward him, he was stunned. He looked over at Wu Yuan and Jianghu. Leader Wu Yuan, you. Jianghu. Wu Yuan frowned at Jianghu. More and more monster spies are hiding within the human population. A monster spy was killed several days ago, but there's already another. Jianghu stared at Jian Wushuang. Father, you mean Big Brother Wushuang is a monster spy? How is this possible? Jianghu said while shaking his head. No. Big Brother Wushuang is a human. How could he be a demonic beast? Wu Yu cried. You two kids know nothing. Little Yu, come here quickly. Jianghu said in a gravelly voice. Wu Yu was dragged aside by the other clansmen even though she was reluctant. Jian Wushuang was besieged by the clansmen who were holding weapons. As the divine general of the Monster Exterminating League, Jianghu was their tribe hero, so those clansmen would not doubt his words. Wait a moment. Stop, Wu Yuan ordered. He glanced at Jian Wushuang with a hint of suspicion, but he said, Jianghu, don't rush to a conclusion. We'd better check first. Every human warrior starts to practice a body reshaping technique in their childhood, but he has never practiced a body reshaping technique before and already has such a powerful body. If he is not a demonic beast, what is he? Jianghu responded in an icy tone. But this is not enough to confirm he is a demonic beast, Wu Yuan said with a frown. We don't know where he comes from. Jianghu gave the young man a flinty look and said in a low voice, Boy, you said that your tribe was destroyed by others and that you were being hunted by your enemy when you fainted at the back of the mountain. Then where are you from? Which tribe was hunting you? Although he felt aggrieved, Jian Wushuang had to admit that Jianghu had reasonable grounds. A human warrior in the monster continent would have practiced a body reshaping technique since childhood, while Jian Wushuang, who had such a powerful body, started to cultivate this technique just now. It did not make sense. Furthermore, Jian Wushuang came from the Divine Land, where he had no access to body reshaping techniques. He lied about his origin because he did not want anyone to know that he came from somewhere outside of the monster continent. So how could he tell them the name of his tribe and enemy? I'm not a monster spy, Jian Wushuang said. Don't argue for yourself. Jianghu said coldly while the other clansmen vigilantly stared at Jian Wushuang. Go invite Elder Water. A clansman followed Wu Yuan's order and left. Dad, Big Brother Wushuang was not a monster spy. Definitely not. Wu Yu looked at Wu Yuan with a pathetic look. Don't worry. Wait for Elder Water to arrive and everything will be made clear. If he isn't, I won't do him an injustice, Wu Yuan said. Wu Yu no longer spoke. Jian Wushuang remained silent with a wry look. Elder Water quickly arrived. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.